Hey everyone, so we are going to talk about shading today, and more specifically shading with pencils. So before we even begin, I want to talk to you a little bit about graphite pencils or sketching pencils and how we can use them to really optimize our shading and make our shading super awesome. The reason why we want to use these over just using a mechanical pencil or just using one regular pencil is because we could get a really big range of shades from light to dark instead of just using one. So this will make our shading life a little bit easier. So these pencils all come from this one box and they all look the same, but each of them is different. So sketching pencils, they go by letters and numbers and a combination of letters and numbers that tells us how light or dark the pencil is. I'm going to show you the difference between F, which is our lightest pencil, and 8B, which is our darkest pencil. So I'm just going to shade a little bit here with F, and then I'm going to shade here a little bit with 8B, and I'm pressing the same hardness for both of them. I'm not pressing any harder. So I'm applying the same amount of pressure. As you can see, the 8B is much, much, much darker than what we have, the F right here. And this is important because even though I was applying the same amount of pressure, I am getting different results. So if I were to shade darker with the F, I can do it. It is possible. However, it will take a lot more than shading hard with the 8B, as you can see here. So knowing these different pencils is going to really help us. Now for you guys, you're just going to use a range of 2 different pencils. So one of them will be dark, either, maybe 6B, 5B, all the way up to 8B, and one of them will be light. So it could be a 2, a B, a 2H, any of those. So you have a dark and a light one. So the first thing that you need to know about shading is, like I said earlier, there's a scale. And this scale is ranges of shades from light to dark. And here we're going to make 2 of them. The reason why these are important is because this is going to help us really get our shading to pop off the page. The whole entire point of shading something is to make it look realistic and make it look 3-dimensional, even though we're working on a flat paper. So I'm going to label these. And every time I say, you have a lot of 1s, but you need more 4s and 5s, I mean you have a lot of lights, but you need more darks. So 1 is going to be our lightest, 5 is going to be our darkest. So for 1, I want you to practice sketching really lightly. So barely touching your pencil against the paper, and do this for both your darker pencil and your lighter pencil. You might want to hold it on an angle, and I don't know if you noticed, but I'm just barely holding the pencil here. Just barely. Then for 2, you want to press a little bit harder, but still you want to just barely be applying pressure. So it's just a little bit darker. And this is with the 8B. And go again with your lighter pencil and do it again. Now you'll notice at this stage that they're pretty similar. Now we want to go for 3. So we want to get a little bit darker, not too much darker, just a little bit darker. And this really is just to get a feel for how dark these pencils go and the feel of both of them. Okay, so now as we move on to the 4, we really want to begin to apply some pressure so that we are getting even darker than the one before it. Get it? Before. And for our final one, that's our darkest. So that's going to be where all of our shadows are. I'm shaking the table. I'm pressing so hard here. You don't want to press so hard where you're breaking the tip of the pencil, which is why I'm working here on an angle. But you want to press hard enough where it's significantly darker than the other ones. Now with some of these pencils, it's not just about pressing hard, it's also about layering. So if I add a second layer, it's going to become even darker than just the first layer. So you'll notice here I have a range of shades. You can very obviously tell the difference between 5 and 4 and 4 and 3 and 3 and 2 and 2 and 1. If you look on your paper and you see that maybe 2 of the shades are kind of similar, that means we don't have a good enough range of shades. Even if one of them is slightly darker than the other one, it's not dark enough. You need to see a really clear difference between them. Now, the point of this, which is called a value scale, is to know what our ranges of shades look like so we can then apply it to shading with pencil. So here we go. I am going to move this paper over a little bit, and on here I'm going to draw a circle. Now right now it's a circle because it's flat on the paper. I'm going to try to turn this circle into a ball or a sphere by adding shading to it. So of course it really depends on where the light is coming from. So here I'm gonna have the light come from over here. So I'm drawing a little bit of a lamp. So this means, and I'm just gonna mark it out, that right here at the top is going to be the very lightest point. And then the second lightest, the third lightest, the fourth lightest, and then we're going to have a nice shadow under here. Now you can use lines to help you mark off, but if you do, please, please, please don't press hard with those lines. Because if you press hard with those lines and then you fill them in with a light shade, you're never going to be able to get rid of that line. So don't do that.